how to write a non-fiction essay. The first thing you do is you start reading, you take notes as you go along, you underline in your text and you try to understand it the best you can. And then you look for the genre. What kind of text is it? Where did it appear? Who wrote it? Who is the audience? And how is it written? How is it structured? What kind of language is used? And then you look for the theme. What is the topic? Is there a certain theme? And how does that theme come across to the reader? How is it presented to the reader? Okay, those are things that you look for while you read your essay before you start the actual writing of the essay. The next thing here, written in blue, is how the non-fiction essay is to be structured. It has to be structured with an introduction, the body, which is the main part of the text, and then a conclusion. And what is important is you have to have a red thread running through the whole text, and the introduction and the conclusion have to fit together. So there's like a circle structure between introduction, body and conclusion. Your introduction is important. This is where you can try to attract the reader's attention by telling the reader as much as possible about what the theme is of your essay. You present the title and the author of the article or the articles that you are going to write about, and when they were published, where they were published. And it's a good idea when you do the introduction to use the pentagram, the literary pentagram, because all the 5 points in the pentagram gives you good guidance to what to focus on, what to look for, and what to write about in your introduction. And now to the body of the text. Normally it's a good idea to put the body of the text in 3 parts, and in part 1 it's a good idea to use a Tollman's model as the method for analysis, and then because that brings you directly into the writer's opinions and the problems that are addressed in the text that you're analyzing, and the text can be a speech as well. And if it's relevant, then you say something about the writer also. Does it matter who the writer is, and which point of views are most important in what is being said? And in part 2, it's a good idea to write about how the things are said, what language is used, what style is the article or the speech in. Are there devices, poetic devices that engage the reader? And remember here also to use an analysis model. How does the writer argument? What language is used? Show elements that the author uses. Emphasize characteristics in the text and how they function in the text, how they are relevant to the theme, and how does the language function on the reader. And remember, you have to show the reader the evidence again, so you have to show quotations or references from the text that you are analyzing. Now in part 3 you can comment on your analysis in part 2. You can judge, estimate, discuss. So you can use your analysis to judge the theme. Has the writer used good choices? Do you agree? Does the argumentation function? Is the structure good? How good is the text in general? Does the text obtain what it set out to do? So here you can use how and why in your argumentation. And then discuss, if you are asked to discuss 2 points in the text, and then you should explain why you think one is better than the other. And now on the next page for the conclusion. So this last page is about the conclusion. In the conclusion you sum up, and write what the most central analysis and comments are, and then you look at the introduction again and make sure that you have made a circle structure. That is, again, that the introduction and the conclusion fit together, and that the whole body is like a red thread with the theme as a connection. And then what can you conclude in relation to the argumentation? And then remember not to write I. You have to be objective, and that means you have to use quotes from the text that you're analyzing as proof of your analysis and what you want to say. So, good luck on your writing.